Greetings, friends and followers. This is Nurses Talking. I am Del Barzi. And as always, if you like what you see and hear, subscribe, leave a comment, and let us know what you think. Here on Nurses Talking, we speak to nurses anywhere in the world and at any stage in their nursing journey, from students to retirees and anywhere in between. And today, I am very pleased to welcome Ms. Shayna Melissa Stockman. And Shayna is a #1 international best-selling author and publisher, a 30-year nurse, and nationally board-certified nurse practitioner. She's known as the Biohack NP and the World Wellness Expert. She's also an intuitively holistic healer, certified dream builder, Trump VIP Award recipient, and the Biohack MP, I think I said that, and World Wellness Expert. And so Shayna says that she was this hopeless and helpless by the doctors, and yet healed herself holistically without medications. Now her doctors and specialists are her clients. Her mission is to empower millions more who were also left hopeless and helpless to feel better and happier. And she says her slogan, "I would rather be proactive to prevent your disorder today than reactive to treat it tomorrow." I love that. I love that. Thank you, Shayna.
Thank you for such a wonderful introduction. Thank you for all you do to empower our fellow nurse practitioners, our nurses.
Well, you're welcome. It has been a dream of mine for a while, and I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to follow through and fulfill it. So tell me, firstly, what is your why? Why are you a nurse?
Oh God, I have a few whys, but I'll stick to the main ones. My grandma raised me, God rest her soul, and she always loved helping people and putting smiles on their faces. So I liked helping people and putting smiles on faces. And in high school, I had a scholarship, and I don't know how I got it. It must have been my grades because I didn't apply. I had a scholarship for nursing. And I said, I don't know if I want to go into nursing. Let me start off with liberal arts, and then it'll apply to any major. And then I was in a bad accident, and a nurse really impacted my life. And I said, wow, she'll never know. I said, maybe this is my calling. God's trying to tell me something here. The scholarship, the hospital, and this nurse really befriended me. And I was like, wow, she'll never know how many lives she impacted and how many of those lives impacted more lives. I'm like, I want to do this.
Okay, all right. That, you know what? That's a goosebumper story. Really.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And since I've inspired a lot of people to become nurses and other nurses to go on to become nurse practitioners. So I see this rippling effect turning into more of a tidal wave.
Exponential. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. That's great. And I'm glad you said that, because sometimes we need to realize just how the little things affect other people, what we put out there, just how big and how broad it can go. So, but I know that you're upbeat and all of that. I can see that. But nursing comes with challenges. So what were some of yours?
Ooh, there's a lot of them.
Yeah, I know.
Yes, I think it was hard sometimes when I started over 30 years ago as a nurse. And when I was in the beginning of my career, a lot of, I don't want to generalize everyone, but a lot of physicians might not take nurses seriously. Like, we know our stuff. And then they look at you like, oh, you're just a nurse. And then they're like, oh, wow, she was right, And I've seen that time and time again. And now, over 30 years later, it's cool that a lot of my doctors and specialists are now listening to what I'm saying. So we're, one of the uphill battles was a lot of the doctors sometimes look down upon nurses.
Yeah.
And sometimes, as a nurse practitioner, being a female, if they see a male physician assistant, they assume he's a doctor because he's a male. So that's another challenge that I've had. I learned to advocate for the patients. Sometimes I really, really have to advocate for the patients, for their rights. And another, I would rather, as you know, prevent their disorder today than treat it tomorrow. Unfortunately, the healthcare system would rather pay for your chemotherapy than tell you to stop smoking and pay for the pill to stop smoking. So that's a huge uphill battle of mine. Is there's not enough prevention. There's cancer centers everywhere. I don't see a preventative center anywhere. And the insurances don't want to cover it. And people are so they need to retrain their brain because they're so focused on, oh, I don't want to, how much is it going to cost me to get healthy? And they don't realize the cost of getting sick is more. I'll give you an example. I just had a client the other day that wasn't thinking about healthy alternatives. So now, okay, you have to go to the doctor. The doctor doesn't make you better. He gives you two prescriptions. So that's like three copays. Then the over the counter, then you run out of the cough medicine. Then you're still not better. You go to the specialist. Then you end up in the ER, and that's a huge deductible. And then I said to this client, this new client of mine, I said, wait a second, do you get paid sick time? She goes, no. I said, well, how many days are you out? 3. So that costs you a lot more money than just doing the healthy alternative that I would have recommended. And people need to retrain their brain. They can't look at it as
Yeah.
spending. They have to look at it as how much am I saving when I don't need to go to the doctor, get that prescription, get the
Yeah.
over the counter, and lose time from work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because another word we need to use when we're talking about our own health is investing. They will invest money in other things.
Yes.
Invest.
Invest. I just said this. I just did recordings for an upcoming, actually I just launched it today. I just did recordings a couple days ago for my fellow nurses that are burning out on how to de-stress before the holidays. And I said one of the slides I put in there was the best investment you can make today is for yourself, tomorrow to reap the rewards.
Yeah.
And another thing I said that I want my fellow nurses to know is sometimes we need to treat ourselves as good as we treat our best friend, right? And that was a
Yeah.
homework assignment I gave them. Think of something that makes you happy and put it in your schedule this week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things when I speak to nurses, one of the things I touch on all the time is self-care, because I
Mm,
know that we don't take care of ourselves. I know that, first of all, as women, I think it's intrinsic, but also we're brought up kind of like to put everyone else first. And then as nurses, nursing reinforces that, and we put ourselves further and further back,
yes.
on the calendar, or we never get on the calendar at all. And then it's only when we're sick we think of taking care of ourselves. And so all of this burnout and nurses just having, you know, not able to get done. I think true, all of the other outside factors influence this, but some of it is because we're not taking care of ourselves.
I'm sure you can relate. I've been those 16-hour back to back, which is really 18 or 20. And
Yeah.
then, you're like grabbing your first bite at like 8 o'clock at night, and like a patient's looking at you, or the boss's wife or whatever. And I'm like, isn't there laws about this stuff? Like a 15-minute break somewhere in like a 16
Well, yeah,
hour?
yeah, yeah,
And it's true. So I want to show the nurses like we are important, we are worthy. We need to put ourselves in the schedule. We need to treat ourselves as good as we treat our good friend, right?
yeah.
Because we're going to be our own good friend for life, hopefully.
I hope. So I'm going to jump and ask you, because it's been 30 years and you have done quite a few things. You're a nurse practitioner, you're a holistic biohacker, and we're going to get to that. But what advice would you give to someone who wants to be a nurse?
Hmm. Oh, first of all, because I was also a professor of nursing for a couple of the colleges at a couple of the hospitals here in New York. First,
Mm,
I would say make sure you can deal with bodily secretions, because I have seen students get to their senior semester and then realize, oh no, I can't look at blood and urine. And I'm like, girl, you need to figure that out ahead of time. So just make sure you can deal with bodily secretions. I would say jobs will come and go. So please put your health and your life in front of a job. Because a lot of times, in the past, I was told with 103 fever, oh, come to work. Or my grandmother dying with less than 24 hours, and they're like, hey, you have to come to work. I'm like, you know what? I've covered everyone for years and I'm never sick. Someone
yeah,
needs to cover me now. So sometimes we must put our health. Jobs
yeah,
can come and go. So that new nurse, fine. But you know what? If you're miserable at that job, first of all, set your boundaries in the beginning with the new job, right?
yeah.
Before
Hmm.
they get into the habit of texting you, calling you on off hours. Set boundaries from the beginning. Make sure you can deal with secretions, set boundaries. If you're not happy at that job, keep your options open. Why do you have to stay there in misery? Maybe you're already there a year or two, but you know what? Do you want to be there for the next 20 if you're already miserable? So move on, get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's right. And nursing is so huge. You do not have to stay there. There's nothing, no reason at all.
Mhm.
There was a time when nurses had to stay with the world. That time is
Yes, and
long past.
I want to show the nurses that they can do self-care in seconds a day, literally.
Yeah.
So and empower more people with the biohacking that I do, so more of their clients can get better quicker, and that'll give them more time so that they too can live life to the full. That's what Sir Richard Branson said. I was on a recent meeting with him actually in a class that I took, and he said, "Live life to the full."
Live life to the full. You're the second nurse who brought up Richard Branson in about a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah. I
yes.
had another nurse who quoted his who quoted the more acceptable version of his slogan, which is, like, screw it, just do it.
Yes, yes, yes. And also he's the most successful people, two things. They make rapid decisions. You ever see somebody, they're like, "Oh, I don't know." And then it's like a year later and they still didn't decide. He
Yeah.
said, "You know what? Even when I was younger, the best thing I did was make rapid decisions. Because even if it's the wrong decision, at least you learn from it to grow
You know
rather
it
than
was the
being in the
wrong,
same
right. You
exact
found
spot."
out quickly it's the wrong one.
And the most successful people are forward thinkers. A lot of us are work, 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 eat, sleep. We're living in the now. We need to think, where do we want to be in 3 years? What are we going to do to
Yeah.
get there? You know?
Yeah. 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 So you mentioned biohacking. Tell me about it. What is it? What drew you to it?
I love, love, love it. It's like this. You've heard of hijacking, right? You're taking
Yeah.
control over a plane. So biohacking is taking control over your own biology. We used to just think like we're stuck with our genes. We're not. We can't change our genes, but we can change if a gene's going to be expressed. So say for instance, I first learned about this in the 70s, but it's only really becoming a more recent topic
Mhm.
now. My grandmother and all her siblings, my grandma's siblings all had diabetes. She watched her sugar intake, stayed skinny, never developed diabetes. So she had the family tendency, but what we put on our bodies and in our bodies can decide if that gene is going to be expressed. Same with, a patient that comes into me and they're 300 pounds. And I'm like, wait, your blood pressure's high, you're diabetic. Oh, yeah, it runs in my family. I'm like, you know what? If you ate better, and you didn't have the sedentary lifestyle, you wouldn't have the weight, and the weight's causing the hypertension and diabetes. Once I empowered him to realize it was more than just genetics, I helped him drop 100 pounds. His sugars became normal, his blood pressure, and he didn't have the knee pain as much.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Oh,
turn it on if you don't
the
want me.
second part of your question about what attracted me to it. So
Mhm.
biohacking is about taking genetic control over your genes to decide if a gene's going to be expressed or not. We can't change the gene, we can change the expression with certain herbs and more naturopathic ingredients in capsules and caplets and juices. And what attracted me to it was a professional athlete had told me about it actually from his doctor. His doctor explained to him that he needed to activate his genes so he could recover a lot quicker if he had gotten an injury. So I had seen something called ABC Primetime News Clip where John Quinones investigated into this. And, he tries to disprove something and it backfired in his face and it proved to work better with his own blood test results. Then, as the medical professional, I went to PubMed where all the legit studies are that have to be reproven and validated. I'm like, oh my God, there's so many studies on this. Like,
Yeah.
this is legit. And then when I started changing it, doing it, my life changed. Paint my picture before. I was in a bad accident. I had trigeminal neuralgia, the most excruciating nerve pain, couldn't touch my hair. Jaw dislocated, still dislocated, 3 surgeries later. The meds lead to more lead meds, right? The NSAIDs, even with food, gave me an ulcer. The steroids, a better anti-inflammatory, raised my sugars, my weight, my blood pressure. And, the docs tried to get you hooked on the meds, the pain meds, and I don't want that. They're like, "Oh, you don't want oxy? How about fentanyl?" I'm like, "No, how about morphine?" I'm like, "No, I don't want that." So I was gaining weight from the steroids, higher sugars, higher blood pressures. I wasn't functioning. I was in so much pain. Now that I activate my genes, oh, and I had autoimmune problems and heart failure. Now that I activate my genes, I'm on no medications. I can touch my face, my joints, my nerves. I have no more autoimmune symptoms. So I have no meds. So I'm not going to the doctors. I'm not dependent on anything, no interactions, no lethal overdoses. I'm back to my ideal weight. My sugars are normal now. My blood pressure is normal. I'm energetic. I'm happier and I'm functional. And I'm like, okay,
Okay.
so that rocked my world. And I have a lot of clients too that they've gone to the specialists and doctors, and they're so used to just doing an algorithm, right? If this, do that, if this, prescribe that, that they don't know. I fuse multiple modalities. I do holistic, more body, mind, spirit. I've used naturopathy, more natural occurring in substances. I try to attack the root cause. If I get to the root cause, I stop the progression from worsening, and I can often reverse it, and that gets rid of the symptoms, right? Like the
Yeah,
patient with the weight gain. I helped him
yeah,
stop the weight gain, eat better diet, then he lost the weight and his symptoms went away and he didn't need the meds. So I've used several modalities with the biohacking, and a lot of traditional docs just want prescriptions, and a lot of alternative people say you don't need medicine, and sometimes we need them and sometimes we don't. So I'd rather more naturopathic approach when possible, but I'm not opposed to, if you have a bacterial infection and having to give you an antibiotic, I can write the prescription too. So I think
yeah,
we need,
yeah.
synergistic effects for better outcomes and happier clients.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That is really awesome. And sometimes people don't want to here I go again with that word invest. They don't want to invest the time that it takes to see the results. They want the pill to give them a result now, and it doesn't.
Yes. And you know what's weird? What's weird sometimes is when I worked urgent care, a patient would come in, "Hey, doc, I got the poison ivy again. Give me the shot," right? And they were looking for the steroid injection, right? Hormones injected. But some people are so trained with medicine that when you tell them there's something natural they could take to help them, right? It's almost like, I gotta research that and check into it, right? I'm like, wait a second, you, for a little tiny rash, you wanted me to inject it deep into your muscle, a steroid, a hormone with all these bad side effects. But I want to give you something that comes out of the ground, like almost like, a plant that you would eat or put in your tea, and you're gonna research it. Like, how much research did you go put into that steroid you want me to inject in your arm, or that over-the-counter Robitussin that you take? Please,
I
people need to
know,
retrain their brains here.
I
Mm-mm.
know, I know, I know, I know. Yeah, that is too cool.
Right?
So I
Isn't it
see
crazy?
it is really crazy. It is really crazy. And I don't know. We have to. I guess these kinds of things start at an early age. If you can start it early, the
Mm.
idea that you have there are things around you to help you delay or overcome or prevent certain things before you get to the other things that you want to put in to add to what you started with. Perhaps we can
Yes,
get
yes.
there.
Sometimes they can use the alternatives that I recommend in addition to what they have.
Mhm.
Sometimes they want alternatives instead of the prescriptions, and sometimes we use it in conjunction with. Like, if I've had patients with, stage 4 cancer, and I'm like, listen, no, do this and that because you're going to get synergistic results. And I find when
Mhm.
they activate their genes when they have cancer, it makes the cancer cells more susceptible to the chemo, and it seems to strengthen the healthy cells because chemo kills all, right? But when
Yeah,
we strengthen the healthy cells, they're more resilient. So I find that my cancer patients, when they do the chemo, in addition to what I tell them, they're able to tolerate every single treatment without dropping out from side effects. Their numbers, their red cells, white cells, platelets aren't dropping low where they're needing to hold chemo. They have a lot higher success rates. I don't know of how many regular specialists or doctors can say they've had people in stage 4 metastatic cancer told terminal, go to hospice and die, and now in full remission, you know? And I can say that,
I can say
I
that.
can say that with confidence. And I have a lot of clients that tell me they haven't felt this good in years. And I have some that say decades. Like, that's huge. And a lot of them tell me they're off all their meds now, which is like,
Which is
whoa.
just it's awesome. Was that is just that's just another goosebump moment.
Oh, thank you.
What would you say in a word? What would you say is the most essential quality of a nurse?
One word?
One word. One word.
Um, Patience, because that's twofold.
Patience.
They need patience and they need patients that are people. Patience, definitely, hands down, you have to have patience, you know.
I'm asking that question. I've been asking that question because I recognize that times when I can go somewhere and I can look at someone and think to myself, that person's a nurse. you know. And so I want to know, what is it we recognize in each other? What is it that, we see?
I think we
Patience.
listen to the other's needs because we're altruistic givers.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I want to know, what do you need? How can I serve you and help you?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that word serve comes up a lot when I speak to nurses. Word serve
Oh,
comes up a lot.
I
Yes.
got goose pimples.
So, so I see you said you're a dream builder, and I see you have something called Olo Dream Builders. What
Yes.
is that? Tell me about
Okay.
that.
OLO, okay. OLO is an acronym I've created. It's not only for the title of my first best-selling book, Overcoming Life Obstacles. Um, I always wanted to help uplift everyone else. And when you get higher than me, hopefully you're going to lay a hand down and reach down and help me up. And then at the top, we're going to celebrate together our wins, right? Because too many people look at competition, right? And me. No, I'm
Yeah.
going to uplift everyone. So OLO, I created this double acronym. It stands for the title of my book, Overcoming Life Obstacles, but also optimistically lifting others. It's a double acronym. So you're going to
Okay.
overcome your life obstacle and you're going to optimistically lift others. And then when we get at the top of the mountain together, instead of yes, we're going to yell Olo. And I want, instead of YOLO, Olo. And I want Olo to take off because, there's so much that we can all help each other. You know things I don't know. I know things you don't know. And I
Yeah.
had started my first mastermind over 10 years ago because we're all an expert, even though we're both nurses. You might be, you're better at interviewing and other things that, so we can all learn from each other. So when I create masterminds, we're more powerful together than we are apart.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that is that really is truly one of the goals of this channel, because I really want nurses to know that we have power. We have power as individual nurses, and we have power as a group, and we need to use it. We don't use
Yes.
it.
Yes. You're speaking my language. Yes, I just started a new mastermind, empaths helping empaths, because we're
Mm,
always filling everyone else's cup and they're draining our energy and our time and our resources. But imagine if you're surrounding yourself with other nurses that are givers,
yeah,
right? So we're
yeah.
all they say you can't pour from an empty cup. So thank you, Marina. I'm quoting you on that one. Um, so we can't pour from an empty cup. So you're a giver. So you're going to help me. I'm going to help you. And imagine if we just surround ourselves with other givers. So empaths helping empaths is going to be my new mastermind.
Can you see that?
Yes.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
And
Awesome.
the
Awesome.
dream builder, the Olo, took off that now I'm creating my third bestseller book, Tragedies to Triumph.
Okay.
Triumphs, shared secrets to success. Because think about it like this: most people want to become an author and they never will, right? They can't afford to write a book and they're going to spend their whole life and not finish it before they die, usually. So everyone, I get a whole bunch of friends together and they each write one short story and they all chip in towards the cost of a book. And then together we all drive the book to bestseller. And that's what I did with Olo. And that's what I'm going to do with Tragedies to Triumphs.
I've just
And I'd love a
I've
lot of nurses in that too. That would be great. I'm going to talk to my fellow nurses now.
I've actually just done one, which is not yet coming out, which should be coming out next month, with about 21 other nurses. And this
Nice.
one's called Letters to a Future Nurse. So that will be coming soon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, but that was a great idea. Great idea, yes. Doing it together, because as you say, some of us just don't get off the start line. And there's a lot that we have to say.
Yes. And it's like I do the same with my dream builder workshop. I'm a certified dream builder as well. And we have to be forward thinkers and not think about just today, like where do we want to be in 3 years and then take action steps to get there, right? Because we have to start with the mindset, believe to achieve, I say, consistent action and just never ever quit. And with the dream builders, I do the same thing. I help build their dreams up, but sometimes there's other people in the group that might have the super connection for the other person, to move their dream forward. It's all about the
Yeah.
teamwork.
I have to tell you, how does one become a certified dream builder?
Oh, well, I guess there's different ways, but they could just reach out to me and I'll tell them how. I've just
I'm
been
going to.
always doing it because, I'm like, hey, what's on your wish list? Hey, who do I
Mhm.
have that's a good connect for that?
Yeah,
So they could just reach out to me. That's probably the easiest way, and I can explain it to them.
yeah. I'm going to put your contact information in the description box of this of
Oh,
this
awesome.
video.
The
Because,
ShaynaMelissa.com website's probably the easiest because they can go there, get a newsletter, see how to become an author, or right there on ShaynaMelissa.com, it's like my name, ShaynaMelissa.com. There's an events tab, and I have 4 upcoming events there. They can, do a Dream Builder workshop, see if it's for them. They can see about becoming an author. They can take my new de-stress before the holidays, burnt out, de-stress before the holidays. And those are cool because those are all the nurses, they get their own private dashboard. So and I created very small, short modules. So you can just easily in 15 minutes do a quickie module, on your break or whatever, or listen on the way home, hands free. So I have different course offerings there. And then upcoming, I'm going to have build your best life, healthy, happy life. And yeah, that's going to be a good one. And, helping people, another one's going to be helping people build their dreams up and transform them into reality, reveal their limiting beliefs and turn them into their superpowers.
I am listening to you speak, and I'm thinking to myself,
Uh-oh.
do you know how many, I don't know if you know this, maybe you do, but somehow I think that you're saying these things as part of who you are and not really realizing the sentences that you say. Do you know how many times you use the word help and serve? I mean, they come up over and over and over. And
I didn't realize that. I would like to change that to empower people.
You don't realize it, but it comes out of you just like it seems it's as easily as breathing. Those words just keep coming up in your sentences.
Is that a good
Every
thing,
other
I
sentence,
guess?
help and serve, come up together. I'm like, all right then, there she goes.
I guess that's a good thing. I don't know.
It is a good thing from my perspective. From my
Yeah.
perspective, it's an
Grandma
excellent
raised me
thing.
right.
Go,
Well, I got to give
grandma.
credit to mom too,
Tell me how this Trump award came about.
They actually contacted me. That was, yeah, this is before he was president.
Yeah.
They actually contacted me and I was like, okay. I have it sitting over there actually. I have a nice glass trophy and a nice cherry wood plaque. I'm looking at right now, actually.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, they people can reach out to you. Some people nominate themselves for awards. This was not one of those. This was
Yeah.
their people reached out to me.
And that's huge. That's really huge. Because when other people notice what you're doing, my dad, used to say, you don't let your work speak for you. The time you spend talking about your work, you could have spent doing it, and it will speak just as loudly or even louder than what you said. And I see that that's what happened there. Your work spoke for you.
Yes, and that's how some of the doctors reached out to me because we had mutual clients and they saw them like getting better and they're like, wait, what happened? What did you do? What did you do with my people? I need to know about this. And I should have saved a recent message I got from a specialist. He's like, whatever you're doing, I'm ready to buy into that. So should have saved that message. 30 years ago, doctors didn't want to listen to a nurse.
Oh, I
Like
know.
I remember one time I told the doc, I was like, listen, this baby has meningitis, right? And he didn't want to listen to me. And I'm like, come on, it's like closing its eyes when you flash the light and it's flailing like this, and the reflexes were all off. And I'm like, come on, and then he kept ignoring me. And then finally I hear him like secretly calling from the nurse's station, the trauma to take the baby and transport it to the trauma hospital, the pediatric NICU or whatever. I don't want to generalize. They're not all like that. But I remember
Yeah.
one time I was teaching the nurses. This is another time I was teaching the nurses and the residents and interns were there. And I'm like, well, that's funny because the chart says left lower pneumonia and I hear crackles in just the right. They were
Hmm.
reading the film backwards because, instead of holding it up this way. And I'm like, so I was teaching the students, the residents and interns.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you can. And you can. And this is why, and people are beginning to recognize that because we spend so much more time with patients, you get to see more of what is exactly happening, and increases your awareness and your knowledge of what's going on with them. So listen to me sometimes.
We have to advocate for the patients, but I think also
Yeah.
as nurses, we need to start advocating for ourselves, because I
Yeah.
was guilty of just being in that job where I was miserable and 16 hours not grabbing anything to eat. And my sugars were bottoming out. I was starting to get shaky. My kidneys were backing up. And I remember this. I won't call this person out right here, right now. But I remember one time I was working at a surgical center, and I would clear the patients to go in the OR. And I had like
Yeah.
4 patients lined up, already done, waiting to go in that OR room. And I always tell the charge nurse if I'm leaving the unit, I said, "Oh, I'm going
Mm.
to go use the restroom. I'll be right back." She goes, "No, you stay and finish that patient." Now, I'm sorry, I'm 4 patients ahead. They're waiting to go in the OR. There's not an urge. Uh, no, I'm sorry. Bye bye. So we have to advocate for ourselves
Yes, we do.
sometimes. I mean,
Yes,
to
we
be
do.
told no to the restroom, come on now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know.
That's
I
just a
know.
little much.
Shayna, I don't even know how to thank you for this conversation. It has been well, the word that comes to mind, first of all, is fun, but it's also been very, very, very enlightening. And, I've learned a bit. So
I
thank
try
you
to make
so much.
I try to make my classes fun too. I do.
It
And
has been fun.
their homework assignment for you listeners is treat yourself as good as you treat your best friend Susie, and what makes you happy, and put it on the schedule to do it.
I'm going to take that homework.
Oh, yes. And if you want the homework, part two is
Mhm.
go to my website and get the if you're burning out, de-stress before the holidays.
Okay.
Those little tiny modules. Yeah, because you have your own dashboard. You can stop, rewind,
Yeah.
play it anytime.
Mhm.
They're audio too, so you could just listen to it when you're driving home from work or something right from your phone.
Awesome. 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 Thank you, Shayna.
Oh,
It's been
thank you.
great.